Capricorn, have you noticed how your peace seems to irritate certain people? Your silence disturbs their chaos. Your healing exposes their wounds. Your freedom threatens their control. Lately, something inside you has shifted, quietly but undeniably. It's as if the universe has whispered, it's time. Time to release what no longer holds truth. Time to walk away from what no longer nurtures your soul. And as you take those steps, even if you don't fully understand where you're heading, a strange peace follows you. One that feels both heavy and light at the same time. You're walking lighter now. You're not chasing validation or trying to prove your worth to those who never saw it. You're no longer asking for permission to exist in peace. And for the first time in a long while, you are finally free. But freedom, real freedom, always comes with a cost. Because your calmness unsettles the restless. Your quiet power unnerves those who fed on your confusion. Your light, Capricorn, now exposes what others tried so hard to keep hidden. They don't understand how someone who once cried in silence now smiles without a reason. They whisper about you. They twist your joy into arrogance. They call your boundaries selfish, your confidence prideful, your solitude strange. But deep down, they know the truth. You've been chosen for a new path. You're no longer chained by expectations, guilt, or fear. The universe is preparing you for something bigger, something sacred. But to walk there, it had to clear the path first. That's why certain people drifted away. That's why the things you once begged for suddenly lost their meaning. That's why your old surroundings started to feel too small for your spirit. It's not rejection, Capricorn, it's redirection. The universe is removing the clutter around you, not to leave you empty, but to make room for what's divine. You're being moved not because you failed, but because you've graduated. Before we go deeper, type this in the comments below. My freedom is divine. Say it like a declaration. Let it echo into the universe, because this message carries energy, and when you affirm it, you align yourself with it. Now take a deep breath. Let the noise of the world fade away for a moment, because by the end of this message you'll understand something powerful, that your freedom was never meant to be understood by everyone, but it was always meant to be protected by you. You're leaving behind old patterns, old fears, and old versions of yourself that were never meant to follow you into this next chapter. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. And those who can't handle your peace were never meant to walk beside your purpose. Capricorn, you are being moved for a reason. Your soul asked for alignment, and the universe answered. It may look lonely now, but soon you'll realize you didn't lose anything. You simply outgrew what could no longer hold your light. Your freedom is divine, and tonight we'll explore the cost of it. Not as a burden, but as your greatest blessing. Freedom doesn't always arrive with a loud sound, Capricorn. It doesn't always come with fireworks, tears, or goodbyes. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of the night, in the stillness of your room, when you finally admit to yourself that something inside you no longer feels at home where it used to. For you, it began in whispers. It started with the quiet realization that what once made you feel alive was now draining you. You'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering when things changed and why the place you once called safe suddenly felt like a cage. But deep down, you already knew. The universe was beginning to move you. You didn't run away. You simply stopped returning to what no longer nurtured your soul. There was no argument, no drama, no final speech to make them understand, just stillness, followed by peace. You started saying less and observing more. You began walking slower, thinking deeper, and caring only about the things that brought you peace instead of pain. You outgrew your old version quietly, almost invisibly. And while you were busy trying to heal, others were busy trying to figure out why they couldn't reach you anymore. Some people noticed your absence and panicked, because your presence was their comfort. Your loyalty was their safety. You leaving meant they had to face their own emptiness, something they weren't ready to do. They weren't missing you as a person. They were missing the way you made them feel important. Capricorn, your detachment became their discomfort. Your stillness became their mirror. When you stopped arguing, they no longer had a wall to bounce their chaos against. When you stopped explaining yourself, they no longer had someone to blame. And when you stopped pouring your love into places that refused to grow, they were forced to look at how lifeless those places really were without your energy feeding them. They thrived on your overgiving. They depended on your emotional strength. They got used to you fixing everything, even what wasn't your responsibility. And now that you've reclaimed your energy, they are starving for the very version of you they once dismissed. But here's the truth. You didn't disappear to be cruel. You disappeared to breathe. You didn't detach to punish them. You detached to find yourself again. Your silence, Capricorn, became your greatest act of rebellion. Because silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the quiet declaration that says, I no longer need to explain my peace. And that silence, that wholly grounded quiet, is the very thing unsettling those who once thought they could define you. They can feel the shift, even if they can't describe it. They sense that you're gone, even when they still see your face. Because energetically, you've already left the room. The universe moved you first in spirit, long before you took your first physical step. That's why nothing feels the same anymore. That's why certain conversations feel shallow. That's why your soul craves solitude more than attention. You're not cold, you're healing. You're not distant, you're realigning. You're not running, you're releasing. And those who can't understand that will call you selfish, arrogant, or strange. But they'll never understand that this is what it looks like when a soul finally breaks free from what was never meant to hold it. So don't apologize for your silence, Capricorn. That silence is sacred. It's not the end. It's the beginning. Because the silent departure isn't about walking away from people. It's about walking toward yourself. Capricorn, listen closely. They don't miss your presence. They miss the power they once held over your emotions. They miss being able to push your buttons and watch you break. They miss the way your heart used to bend just to keep the peace. They miss being the reason you stayed up at night, overthinking everything you said, questioning if you were enough. What they really miss is control. Because your healing ruined their grip on you. They can no longer guilt trip you into saying yes when your heart screams no. They can no longer twist your kindness into weakness. They can no longer use your love as a tool to trap you. They see the new version of you. Calm, grounded, detached. And it terrifies them, because they can no longer predict your reactions. They can no longer feed on your guilt. They can no longer manipulate your empathy. You used to feel bad for protecting your peace. You used to feel selfish for needing space. But now you've learned that love without respect is just control wearing perfume, and you've stopped inhaling it. Capricorn, your silence has become louder than any argument you could ever make. And that's why they're angry. Not because you hurt them, but because you stopped letting them hurt you. They miss the version of you who over-explained, who chased, who tried to fix everything. They miss your defenses, your vulnerability laid bare, your endless forgiveness. They miss your effort, because your effort was their ego's nourishment. But now, your energy has matured. You've learned to pour love without losing yourself in the process. You've learned to stand tall without needing to prove your heart. You've learned that some people love your light only when it bends toward them. Your healing, Capricorn, didn't make you cold, it made you clear. They can't guilt trip someone who knows their own worth. They can't shame someone who's made peace with their scars. They can't manipulate a soul that's anchored in truth. You see, your freedom didn't come from revenge or rebellion. It came from understanding. Understanding that you didn't have to fight them to win. You just had to stop participating in their game. You realize that peace doesn't mean silence out of fear. It means silence out of strength. And that's when it began. The resentment. They saw your stillness as pride. They saw your peace as arrogance. They saw your boundaries as walls. But Capricorn, you are not being difficult. You are being delivered. Delivered from manipulation disguised as love. Delivered from obligations disguised as loyalty. Delivered from cycles disguised as family. You were never the problem. You were the solution they couldn't control. And now that the mask has fallen, you see it all clearly. Freedom is not rebellion, it's revelation. And you, Capricorn, are finally seeing things and people for exactly what they are. Not through the eyes of attachment, but through the lens of truth. And that truth has made you unstoppable. There is something about a free soul that unsettles those who are still trapped. You've probably felt it, Capricorn. That heavy air when you walk into a room. They smile, but their eyes flinch. Their words sound polite, but their tone tightens like a rope they can barely hold. Their laughter echoes, but it doesn't reach their spirit. Why does this happen? Because your freedom reminds them of what they're too afraid to do. Evolve. You represent the version of themselves they never had the courage to become. You broke the pattern they still keep repeating. You walked away from the pain they still glorify. Your growth feels like betrayal to those who benefited from your stagnation. Your peace feels like rejection to those who fed on your chaos. Your happiness feels like rebellion to those addicted to your pain. Capricorn, some people secretly prayed for your downfall. They whispered words over your name, hoping your light would dim. They laughed behind your back, waiting for your spirit to collapse. But instead you rose, quietly, gracefully, and powerfully. You didn't retaliate. You didn't expose them. You simply healed. And now they are being forced to watch God use the very ground they buried you in to grow you. That's why your freedom offends them. It reminds them of every attempt that failed. It exposes their powerlessness. It shows them that no gossip, no manipulation, no emotional trap could keep you from what was written for you. They see now that your steps were guided, not by them, but by something greater. They wanted you obedient, but God made you anointed. They wanted you quiet, but the universe gave you a voice. They wanted you small, but your spirit outgrew every box they tried to keep you in. Capricorn, some people loved you when you were humble because it made them feel superior. But the moment you stood tall in your truth, their love turned into resentment. That's not love. That's possession. And you were never meant to live inside someone else's insecurity. Don't waste your energy defending your peace. Don't explain your glow to those who refused to see your light when it was dim. Let your transformation speak for itself. Because those same mouths that cursed you will soon have no choice but to confess, Capricorn never fought us, they just outgrew us. And that's the truth that breaks their spirit the most. You didn't destroy them. You simply refused to stay broken for their comfort. You didn't become cold, you became clear. And that clarity, Capricorn, is your crown. Your freedom, your joy, your peace. It's the proof that divine justice is real. Because when the universe clears your path, it doesn't ask for permission. It removes what can't walk with you and silences what can't understand you. And that's what's happening now. You are not losing people. You are losing access to their control. You are not being isolated. You are being protected. The energy of envy may surround you, but it can no longer touch you. Because what's blessed by the divine cannot be cursed by envy. Capricorn, this is where freedom begins to cost something. This is the stage most people don't talk about. The part where peace starts to feel a little lonely. Because when your energy shifts, your environment does too. When your spirit rises, the room begins to feel smaller. You'll start to notice people slowly fading away. Not because they're evil or cruel, but because they can't meet you at your new frequency. They love the older version of you, the one who tolerated, who explained, who kept showing up even when it hurt. But this new you, the one that chooses silence over chaos, peace over approval, that version makes them uncomfortable. Freedom separates the aligned from the attached. The aligned will clap for your peace. They'll see your glow and say you deserve it. But the attached, the ones who only loved you when you needed them, will call your distance cold. They'll call your growth arrogance. They'll say you've changed, as if that's a crime. But you didn't change, Capricorn. You healed, and healing will always cost you something. It costs comfort, it costs company, it costs control. But what you gain in return is priceless: clarity, purpose, and protection. You may start to feel a strange emptiness in this stage. Friends you thought were forever start to disappear. Old connections feel forced. The conversations that once excited you now drain you. But don't panic. It's not loneliness. It's spiritual detox. You're shedding what no longer fits the version of you that God is raising. And yes, some of them will talk. They'll twist your name in rooms you've never even walked into. They'll create stories just to justify why you left. They'll turn your silence into scandal because they can't stand the peace they no longer have access to. But remember this, Capricorn. When your heart is pure, gossip becomes prophecy. They'll speak your name in envy, but it will only carry your purpose farther. Every time someone tries to bring you down, the universe will use their words as fuel to lift you higher. You see, this is not punishment, it's pruning. The divine is trimming away what blocks your growth. You're being refined, elevated, and repositioned for what's next. And sometimes, that process hurts. Because when God clears your path, He removes not only obstacles, but also attachments that slow you down. So don't mourn what's leaving. You're not losing friends, you're losing distractions. You're not being abandoned, you're being aligned. You're being shaped for your next level, and not everyone can go there with you. Sometimes God hides you, not because you're unworthy, but because you're ready for bigger stages. He's protecting your energy from those who would mishandle it. He's preserving your peace so that when your time comes, you'll shine without the noise of unnecessary voices around you. Your freedom, Capricorn, is not a threat to your destiny. It's preparation for it. It's the space you need to grow into the person you are always meant to be. And though the silence may feel heavy now, it's only the sound of your soul expanding beyond its old limits. So hold steady. Don't chase what's falling away. The ones meant for your new chapter will find you at your new frequency. Because real connection doesn't compete with your peace, it celebrates it. Capricorn, your energy now carries authority. It's not loud, it's not demanding. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. Because it was earned through pain, through storms, through seasons where no one saw your effort but God did. You've endured battles most people wouldn't have survived, and somehow you still stand, softer, wiser, stronger. That's why your peace feels different now. It's not fragile, it's fortified. It's built from the ashes of what tried to destroy you. You've learned that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It doesn't mean you forget. It means you've stopped giving power to the memory. You've realized that walking away doesn't mean quitting. It means you trust divine timing more than human approval. And you finally understand that your worth was never determined by who stayed in your life, but by who you became after they left. Freedom has made you magnetic. People are drawn to your calm because they can feel the truth in it. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer explain, you simply exist in your peace. But with that power comes misunderstanding. Some people will project their fears onto you. They'll call your peace arrogance because they can't understand what self-respect feels like. They'll call your distance pride because they confuse boundaries with rejection. They'll try to pull you back into the same arguments, same cycles, same energies you've already outgrown, just to prove that you're still the same person. But you're not. You've evolved. And evolution irritates those who refuse to grow. So don't bite the bait, Capricorn. When they throw shade, stay grounded. When they provoke, stay silent. Smile because your calm is their confusion. Your peace disturbs the ones whose spirits are still in prison. Remember, you are not responsible for their discomfort. You are not responsible for fixing what refuses to heal. Your only job now is to keep walking in light, even when your glow blinds them. Because your light doesn't owe anyone an explanation. The truth is, when you rise in authenticity, those who live in illusions will panic. They'll call your growth betrayal because it exposes their stagnation. They'll see your confidence and label it attitude because it reminds them of their own fear. But you, Capricorn, cannot shrink to make others feel safe in their own shadows. You are the mirror of courage, a living reminder that healing is possible, that peace is powerful, and that survival can be sacred. You are proof that breaking free doesn't make you heartless, it makes you whole. So stand tall in your truth. Don't dim your flame for those who refuse to light their own. Your peace is not a threat, it's a testimony. And the world needs that reminder now more than ever. Because you, Capricorn, were born to show others that freedom is sacred. Capricorn, your freedom is not arrogance. It's arrival. You finally come to that sacred place where peace speaks louder than applause, and silence feels safer than constant validation. You don't crave to be understood anymore. You crave to be aligned. You've realized that your energy doesn't need to prove itself to anyone, it only needs to protect itself. You've learned that the most powerful response to envy is elevation. You rise, you grow, you move in silence while the noise beneath you fades into distance. Because you understand now that not every battle deserves your presence, and not every opinion deserves your attention. So let them talk, Capricorn. Let them whisper. Let them call your peace ego and your independence rebellion. They're not angry because you've changed. They're angry because you're no longer controllable. Only those still in chains fear the sound of keys, and your freedom is the loudest sound they've ever heard. Your story is divine proof that nothing and no one can cage a soul that God has already freed. No manipulation can bind what heaven has released. No gossip can destroy what destiny has protected. And no opinion can silence what the universe has already anointed. So as you reach the end of this message, take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and whisper this softly with me. My freedom is my protection. My peace is not up for negotiation. My journey is blessed. These are not just words, Capricorn. They are declarations. Every time you say them, you realign with your purpose. You remind the universe that you are no longer living by fear or expectation, but by divine flow. If this message touched your soul, comment below. My freedom is divine. Let it echo across this space. Let the energy fill the room, the heart, the spirit, because when you affirm your freedom, the chains that once held you begin to dissolve completely. You are not being punished for evolving, Capricorn. You are being rewarded for surviving long enough to finally choose yourself. The people who misunderstood you were never meant to define you. The seasons that broke you were only preparing you. And the doors that closed on you were only guiding you towards something greater. Stay strong, stay grounded, stay free. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Because your freedom story has only just begun. The universe is clearing your path for what's next, and trust me, Capricorn, it's something extraordinary.